What are you doing, Tina?
What are you doing, Jenny?
We are two women living our best lives in the Black Hills of South Dakota, sharing our stories, laughs, and projects happening in the garage.
Whether you're looking for a bit of joy, a spark of creativity, or just a comforting voice, you can find it here. Unicorn!
All right, welcome to the Unicorn Projects. We are at episode 4, ladies.
Can you believe it? Episode
I can't believe it.
4.
Are you getting warmed up? Are you feeling good?
I'm feeling good.
We are. You know, we've had a chance to really spend some quality time with you and the whole crew here at Home Slice.
We feel really at home here.
Good.
I think that we felt at home the first time that we came from that very first meeting we had with Murdoch and
It was
and
a
Amy.
natural fit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's, you know, we're grateful to be here. We're grateful that the people that are around here every day, whether it's the personalities like you know, the executive team, the management or leadership team, what have you,
Tech people.
we have been able to quickly make a connection with everyone that aligns with the direction we're trying to take this. So your excitement leads to our excitement, which then leads to more excitement for you. It's like this perpetual hamster wheel of love and joy, and we can't wait for what's next.
I'm excited about the future. I think it's, who knew that 2 years ago that we would be sitting here today?
Dude, who knew 6 months ago we would be sitting here today? Like,
Did you just call her dude?
let's be real. Yeah.
She duded
Bruh.
me. Bruh. My kids call me bruh.
So I do think that because this is episode 4, I would like to just take a minute and recognize you, Amy, for your leadership, your willingness to walk through this with us.
Yes.
Your grace and humble nature as you educate us through the process of what it is to record, not just the audio, but the video and the editing and there's just so much that people don't realize goes into a professionally produced podcast. Certainly when I thought about, okay, here's Jenny wants to start this podcast, I want to start this podcast, like, let's just go in the basement and grab a couple of DJI Osmo Pocket 3 cameras and giddy up,
it out,
you know.
yeah.
But this far exceeded our expectations. And when we tell you that we're very grateful, not just to be here, but we're grateful for you as a human doing this with us, please know that comes from a very deep place of gratitude.
Definitely.
Well, don't make me cry on episode 4.
We'll try not to, but
It is an honor. It is an honor to be here with you.
Thank
you
you.
both.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
I appreciate you for choosing me.
Heck yeah. We can't imagine a better person to do this with. Like, I keep saying this word alignment. It truly feels like this connection on the deepest levels, the way that we think about
It's
things.
like chemistry.
Yes, and our intent. Exactly. It's like chemistry. It was meant to be. So
Like me and you.
yeah. So what do you have for us in store today? Like, I have some things I want to talk about.
Yes, and I think we should share the phone number
Yes.
right away.
Oh, yeah. This is
Because-
exciting.
Yes.
Very exciting. So we have talked about on social media that we have developed this website. You can go on there and learn about our story. You can see what our mission and our vision is for not only the website, but the podcast and who we are as our 605 Life. There's a merch store. You can subscribe to get any updates. There's subscriber-only chats. There are different levels of membership. There's a plethora of information on there. But I did post this morning a toll-free number in addition to the info at theunicornprojects.com inbox.
Okay.
And there's a specific reason that we want to do that. Jenny and I are one of the things that is a huge cup filler for us is the level of engagement that we get, not just in the videos that we post through comments and direct messages, but also on the lives that we do on Fridays. Mm-hmm. That is huge for us, and we don't want to, deter from that. We want to continue to encourage that interaction.
Definitely.
So having this toll-free number on the website allows people to call in and leave a question or leave a comment that we can then share on a future episode of the podcast, either via audio, potentially calling that individual and inviting them into the podcast. Like, I think the sky's the limit there. So the toll-free number for you to do that.
First of all, it took Tina
Gosh.
days and days to secure this number. And we went through so many ideas and iterations and research.
Who knew there was such a thing as a phone broker to purchase a toll-free vanity number?
Tina knows it now.
And when I say purchase, it is not an inexpensive thing to do, to buy a toll-free vanity number.
Well, toll-free.
But here we are.
Right. It's kind of counterintuitive there, right?
Yeah, toll-free for everybody else. But my Amex saw that swipe.
Well,
Yeah.
smoke them if you got them,
That's
Tina.
right.
Well,
Jenny.
hopefully you get some good points out of it.
We will. We
Yeah.
did for sure. So the number is 844-605-LIFE, which is 844-605-5433.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah. Isn't that cool?
makes sense.
I love
Makes
how
sense.
you put so much thought into every little detail.
It matters.
It does matter.
It all goes back to, branding and making things simple and easy to
Streamlined.
remember. And yeah.
It
it's
fits
important.
us.
It does.
Yeah.
So we can never move away from South Dakota.
True.
what's
Yes,
gonna
please
happen.
don't. I will move with you.
We're not going anywhere.
This is our place.
So we're excited.
Yeah.
Are you
gonna
ready
be
for my
awesome.
question?
Yeah.
We're ready.
Fire away.
You're always giving advice to everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
What is the best advice you've ever received?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Great question, Jenny. Go
You
ahead.
want me to go first?
Yeah.
Oh, I was in the military after high school, so I had to be in my early 20s. And I was stationed at a mountain warfare training center up in the Sierra Nevadas of California. And there was this restaurant. It was a pizza restaurant that was just outside of Bridgeport, out of town. And I remember I went out there to probably get a pizza, and the owner, I ended up striking up a conversation with her. And that's when I got my best piece of advice, which was, don't ever judge someone on what other people tell you about that person. Like make your own opinion about how you find them, about your experience with them and your interaction. Don't listen to what other people say, but form your own opinion. And I gotta say, that piece of advice has served me so well throughout my life. I never forgot it. And I think it's so true because, how we show up as humans in situations with whoever it is can be different depending on what the dynamics are between, other people and that person, or, things that are over your head that are not for you to understand. And, but I do think that when you approach a person and you have this sort of mindfulness about your relationship and interaction with them, and you're in the moment, generally things go really well. And I think that having the ability to cut out all that noise has been super valuable for me, professionally and personally.
That is great advice.
Yeah.
That's good. Mine was October of 1999, and it was my first day at Desert Mountain.
Which is
which is a high-end private facility, golf facility in North Scottsdale, Arizona. At the time, there were 5, soon to be 6 golf courses, now 7, and they've continued to expand. And Dick Hyland, who was the director of golf at the time, an absolute legend, not just in the Southwest section of the PGA, but really in the golf industry. He came to me after a staff meeting and said, I hear that you are a seasonal hire. And I said, I am. I, made a commitment to go back to Connecticut, to Fairfield, to the Patterson Club next season. And he said, I want to know what you're going to learn in year 3 at that facility that you don't think that you would learn here. And I really couldn't answer the question. I'm 21 years old, 22 years old. That's a huge question, right? And we just had this really honest, engaging dialogue. And he said, I'm going to give you a piece of advice that was given to me early in my career. And he said, you never know how the next person you meet could change your life. Be prepared. And it's so true. That statement has served me so well in the way that I carry myself, in the way that I engage with people. It's about transparent and organic and honest, authentic communication. I don't think that he understood really the width of that, the meaning of that, especially for somebody that's wired like me. So
follow-up question.
Yeah.
So how, when he said that to you and he said, be prepared, how did you actualize that in your life?
So great question. You sit with that. You sit with something like that for a while. And again, this was October. By December, I knew that I was at the place I needed to be to learn, to further my career, exposure on all fronts.
Sure.
And I had reached out to the head professional back at the Patterson Club in December of that year to let them know that I was not coming back. And their reaction was all that I needed to know that I made the right decision. It wasn't a pleasant conversation. It wasn't well received. There were certainly some elevated feelings and tone of voice and a lot of swearing.
Oh, no.
If I'm being completely honest.
You didn't feel valued as a human or a professional?
No. Like in that moment, it was very transactional. It was very much I was just a body, and now I've created work for this person to have to go fill that void. And again, another way that statement impacted me, because had Dick never said that to me, I'm not sure, certainly not that early, but I'm not sure that I would have gone back on my word. And I'm not sure that I wouldn't have gone. And who knows what would have happened. So the fact that he saw enough in me, this isn't something that he, pulled everybody aside and had conversations with. But it was really the start of a relationship with him that became so kind of North Star for me in my career, that led to me becoming the fastest person in the history of the PGA of America gaining Class A status. I became the youngest head professional at that point to ever be promoted at Desert Mountain, the first female head professional at Desert Mountain.
Wow.
It led to a lot of cool opportunities. I was then able to go and work for Lyle Anderson, who owned Desert Mountain at the time, owned Las Campanas in Santa Fe. He owned Hokulea out in Hawaii. He owned Superstition Mountain in the East Valley of Phoenix. And then he owned Loch Lomond over in Scotland, just outside Dumbarton, just north of Glasgow. And had I not established that rapport, had I not unknowingly been open and prepared for him to see me in that light, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to go work at Loch Lomond. And you want to talk about a life-altering experience to go work at a facility in the country that is the home of golf for somebody in the golf business that honors the decorum and tradition of the game and the business. Super cool. Yeah.
You want to talk about alignment. Like, that's seriously aligning yourself to even have access to those opportunities, which was amazing. And, sometimes I think, looking back on our youth, how many times we just tripped into the right thing, I mean, it's not even something you plan. And I think luck has a little bit to do with it too, as far as just being right place, right time, which is another good piece of advice. So much of life is showing up. It's being, and I really mean, like, in this world of where we have all of these transactional relationships through emails and through a keyboard and texting and all the rest of it, there's just no substitute for being there in person. And I see that, like, in my business too, where just show up, just be in the room, and bigger things will happen, because that's where relationships are really cultivated. And we talk a lot about the difference between, like, authentic relationships and transactional relationships. Not that there's anything wrong with transactional relationships, and we all have them. We all have to get things done, and we all transact with each other all day long. But for me, I think the magic is, and for Tina too, it's in developing authentic relationships along the way where, we try to make it a point whenever we meet someone in person, it's not just about transaction, it's about how are you as a human? Like, tell me what's good today. What are you passionate about? I stopped asking people what they do a long time ago. What you do isn't who you are. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's a part of who you are. But I've gotten so many cool answers just reframing how I approach getting to know people.
And I think, too, to follow up on one of the comments that you just made, we have been given this gift of a platform to provide some sort of positivity, we hope, in today's environment. And one of the things that has really taken both of us by surprise is the number of people that not only want to connect personally and in person, but feel connected even though we've never shared an exchange. They hear us and they watch us, but we never hear them. It's a typed out comment, direct message, email. There's not even on a live. It's comments. But we feel this alignment, this connection. And
like, even when there's some of our regulars that we don't see on a live, it's so common for us to reach out to them on a message and be like, hey, we missed you on Friday. Is everything okay?
Yeah.
And we have, some people who are going through cancer treatments or, other life challenges. There was a girl with a spinal surgery who was, flat on her back for 8 weeks. And, we genuinely talk about them. We're like, oh, we missed so-and-so on our live. We should send a message and check in.
And when we get the opportunity, like Jenny and I, this last weekend had a chance to meet up at a local coffee shop with 2 people that follow us. And they reached out and asked, hey, I know you'll probably never see this message.
Local people here?
Yep.
Yeah.
You'll probably never see this message. In the off chance, my fiance is a huge fan. Would you ever be available to meet with us? Like to just have, lunch, coffee, go for a walk, whatever. And Jenny saw the message, immediately reached out, set up a date, and we went. And for us, we know going in, they wouldn't have taken the time and really put themselves out there for a photo op. Like they're not there just to take a selfie. Like understand the climate and understand the reason behind what has driven that request. And the only way you can do that is to ask questions, be present, and engage, AKA show up, be prepared.
Be prepared. Yeah.
So we try and do that really with every interaction that we have with somebody through the day. And one of the things that always struck me early in our relationship is that I knew that I was wired that way. I have been that way since I was a little kid. My dad says, I fell in love with you first, and then I fell in love with your mom, which is why we got married. You know what I mean? So to see that in Jenny early in our relationship, to see that is what she valued about relationships and about interactions, and that it wasn't transactional, it really was authentic, and to watch her engage in a way that was similar to me was just one more thing that I was attracted to.
We're both I think one of the ways that we're so similar is that we have a genuine interest and curiosity in people, and in sort of unlocking them, if you will, and really getting to know who they are, and also help them feel valued. I think one of the things that you're so good at, Tina, is you always leave people better than you found them.
Oh, thank you.
That is a true statement right there.
You always do. And, I think even in, we all have rough days, and you just are so radically present in all of our lives, but especially my life, of course. And, I think you're genuinely interested. You seek me in a way that no one ever has before. And you genuinely are interested and want to help however you can. And so, I think a lot of that translates over into, spills over into our social media. And I think people definitely feel that from you.
I remember well, thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Well, I love you.
Well, I love you too.
And I love you both.
Thank you.
We love you too.
I remember as a little kid, I was probably in junior high, maybe early high school. My mom had a very public position within the community as a bank president, and I was always around a lot of professional people or people within the community, business owners, farmers, ranchers, whatever it is. And I remember an exchange in meeting one of those gentlemen, And I had come over to the bank after basketball practice to ride home with my mom. And when she introduced me, I can't tell you that it was anything that I remember visually seeing or that was modeled for me. I certainly wasn't told or guided to do it. It just is what I did. I remember reaching out to shake his hand, but I touched his upper arm at the same time and said, "I'm Tina, nice to meet you." Only to find out after the fact that he had said something to my mother about how impressive and how special that type of a greeting was. And she shared that with me. And that has stuck with me, that it is how you meet people, how you welcome people into your space, and how you come into theirs is important.
Yeah. And I love how you make everybody feel so important, no matter who they are.
Because they are.
They are.
They could come in grumpy and they leave smiling because
Absolutely. And that is
It's fun.
it is fun. It's important to me. It is kind of, there's a little bit of challenge accepted mentality, but really what it is I see you and other people don't see you. And I'm going to make sure that you understand that I see you and I value you and I respect you and I hear you and I'm interested in what you have to say and what you do. And it goes back to that same comment of being present and being in the moment and being a good listener, being prepared.
Yeah.
And weaving all of these little webs of connection wherever we go, I mean, I think, had we not had coffee with those two last weekend, I wouldn't know, like the girl works as a farrier, which is so cool. Like it's a male dominated industry. And here's this girl, like, she's got her farrier license and she's working and
what is that?
They do hoof care
Like,
on animals.
Wow.
And so it was a cool experience to, uplift her, in what she's doing in the business world and her business, but also, make some connections for her here locally that might benefit her and might benefit a nonprofit that happens to have horses that have hoofs that need trimming. And, so it's just kind of like all of these little interconnections that I dig. I love making those.
And I feel like one of the things from an early age, I look back at my grandmother, and my grandmother ran a bakery, but she also was an Avon lady. And there's so many things that came of that were modeled for me as a young person. There's, aside from the entrepreneurial avenue, it was about relationships, and it was about seeking people out and being present, and more of it was social, I think, than it was actual selling. But that is how my grandmother was wired. And when you talk about the people that were most influential in my life, like she would be one of those at the top of the list. So to see that as a young person and then figure out at this age that one of the gifts that I have and I treasure that I also see in you is our ability to connect people. And it's almost like
and when there's nothing in it for us.
Right. Like we feel honored to do that. It's not an obligation. It is something that we are always thinking about. How can I help this person in front of me connect with somebody that also needs a person like that. Do you know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like
yeah.
there's this yin and yang of how can we help?
Right. Yeah. And you say that a lot, to people in
Yes.
conversation.
Yeah.
How can I help?
How can I help? And I'll do it to random people in a store, in a parking lot, like.
You've even come in here where I
Yeah.
work, and you're my guest, and you're asking me how you
Yeah.
can help me. Can I get you some water? Just little things like that.
Yeah, but it's such it shows respect. It shows
Service.
yes, like it shows love. Like and I think again, going back to the way that my grandmother was wired was so impactful to me.
And I think that's leadership too.
Yeah.
I mean, so much of leadership is giving to the people you lead. It's, breaking your back every day to
Leaders
serve
eat
them,
last.
to
Yep.
serve them, to give them what they need, to
Yep.
support them, to make their lives easier, take things off their plate if you can. I always say I would never ask anybody to do what I'm not willing to stand shoulder to shoulder with them and do. And if there's really hard things, oftentimes I'll take the lead and, do those things. And, I think that's true leadership. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I agree. I don't know. I think that we're both really lucky that we had grandmothers that taught us, not verbally, but through action. And they both, love was a verb for them.
Totally.
Isn't it crazy how a grandmother can have so much influence on a grandchild?
Yeah, it's way different,
Mine as well.
I spent a ton of time with my grandparents. My grandpa died when I was 10, but my grandma stayed on their ranch and ranched cattle by herself. She would load the back of her pickup bed with square bales, get it up on a flat, put it in first gear, get out of the truck with no one driving it, jump in the back and cut bales off for cows. Like she fed cows like that every day. And then she didn't have, because she was a ranch wife her whole life, she didn't have enough Social Security credits to collect Social Security. So she had to get a job. And she got a job as, it was a program called Green Thumb, and it's now called Experience Works, but it's a program that puts low-income seniors to work and gives them a supplemental income as a result of that. So she would travel all around to these little tiny small towns in north central South Dakota and sign people up to work under this program. And so she would get dressed. She would dress in a dress and heels and the whole thing. And I was 12, but I would drive her with no license all over. And most of the time we would go to these nutrition sites, they're called, where, in small towns they have a place where seniors can come and eat free or reduced cost. They can eat lunch every day. And so, I was raised hold the door, clear plates, do whatever you can to serve people. And my grandma always said, respect your elders, and so that was kind of, modeled for me. And I just grew up being of service. What can I do? And now that's my job. So, it sort of unlocked this whole other world for me, because I think sometimes seniors are invisible. They become irrelevant somehow in our society. And I was just surrounded by really cool senior citizens during my childhood, where it was so fun to get to know them. And that's kind of where my journey started.
Mm-hmm.
You hear, you tell people you're a power couple, but you two were power individuals, and now you're coming together, and it's just, I don't even know a word for it. I'm gonna have to think about it.
We always say we meet each other. That we feel met in our relationship, in our marriage. Where I don't know if I've ever felt that way before in a relationship, where I was fully met on so many levels. And we have like a little hashtag that we've used since we met, which is, so one of the gifts I got Tina when our first Christmas was one of those constellation pictures, from the day we met, and we have it framed in our house. And underneath it says hashtag all the things because she is all the things,
It's like always.
Yes.
And for me, I'm very much more output than input, if that makes sense at all. Jenny asks, often what people's love language is when when they first meet and you're getting to know somebody and what have you. Well, my love language is time spent. And that doesn't matter if it's with family, if it's with Jenny, if it's with the kids, if it's with somebody new. It truly is immersive engagement in that moment.
Beautiful.
I'm here for it.
So with all of that being said, what should our listeners and viewers take from this today?
I think, it's trying to find a way, if it's important to you, to adapt those things to their own lives. It's maybe a restructuring of priorities. It's potentially establishing some better boundaries, asking for what they need, modeling what they want. I think those things get missed sometimes. People are afraid of hard communication. Conflict resolution is not everyone's forte.
It sure is yours, and it's mine. That's for sure. I think, you know what I would love? I would love for people to call our number, 844-605-LIFE. And I really want to hear what other people's how they would answer what the best piece of advice they ever received
good question.
was.
Great
I think that would be
great follow-up.
That'd be pretty cool. Maybe we can share some of those with our listeners.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So cool.
And I know coming up in our next episode,
Yes.
Oh my gosh, we have a fun one.
I want to hear about this bathtub incident.
The bathtub
Oh my gosh.
incident.
The
infamous.
bathtub, the infamous.
Now famous.
Yes.
And I have other I have some other top secret details that I did not share in the bathtub, that we did not share in the bathtub video, that we're going to share on this podcast.
Ooh.
I can't wait. All right.
Exciting.
Yep.
Unicorn.
Unicorn.
Thank you for tuning in to the Unicorn Projects, hosted by Amy Rose with Jenny and Tina. Music by Caroline Kilty. Produced by Russ Haddon. Engineered by Chris Jaquez. It's the Unicorn Projects on the Home Slice Audio Network.